Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J. Mitch. We got Jackie Boyd.
He tried to jump up, and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys will come in and say,
oh, God. So me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there. He's punching me in the stomach, like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Ochenko can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's doing the team 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochenko can practice today. And I was like, I look back, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
you heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her. I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Time to
Good show.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you going to bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it?
The SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like, they should
Players, look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now.
Hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Wednesday, November 13th. We got a big show for you today. We're bringing all the energy, all the personality. Lloyd is on one.
Yeah.
And we're excited. I think he's excited because we got a big guest for his.
I haven't seen my dad in forever.
His favorite person is coming on the show. Today we have a lot to talk about. Obviously, LSU football is the conversation because if you've been following Twitter, following the sports pundits, there is an avenue, and it's not so far-fetched for LSU to make it to the SEC championship game, which then if they would win, obviously get a first-round bye.
Hey, the fan base does not want to do this.
First-round bye in the playoff. Now, is that going to happen? We don't know. They don't control their own destiny. They got to go win out, and some other things got to happen. We will explain that through the course of the show. But it takes the narrative of, hey, this 12-team playoff is going to make the regular season obsolete. Couldn't have been more wrong on that. Because now you look towards November 30th, and that's shaping up to be one of the biggest college football days that we've seen in a long time, right? LSU goes and wins their next 3 games. Let's say they win their next 2, and they play Oklahoma on November 30th. Well, then Arkansas plays Missouri on November 30th, which means Arkansas beats Missouri, which Arkansas has beaten Tennessee. They've been a pretty pesky team, right? They're very capable of doing it. Last game of the season, they want to end on a high note. They go beat Missouri. That means LSU, if they beat Oklahoma, has a tiebreaker over Alabama to get into the SEC championship game. And then they would play the winner of Texas A&M and Texas, which also is November 30th. So the regular season has a lot to be played for. Even still, with LSU 3 losses, a lot to be played for. So that narrative of the regular season not really meaning anything because of the 12-team playoff has been debunked. That is false, at least for this year. We're going to get into the college football top 25 because there's a lot of controversy in some of those rankings. Georgia obviously is 11th, and Miami just got beat by a bad Georgia Tech team, and they are 5th. We'll get into that. But the reason why we are so excited about the show is because we have Lloyd's best friend, Coach Jay Johnson, coming in live at 6:10 to talk about the LSU baseball team. Recently came out the #1 recruiting class in the country for this season. Obviously, that's following a recruiting class that was electric last year. A lot of guys turned down the draft, came to LSU, and now they're making some noise early on in the fall as freshmen. A lot of transfers are coming in, making their name known. You're bringing in Chase Shores back he's healthy. He's back in the starting rotation. Has a potential to go #1 overall if everything falls in the right place and he throws the same way he was throwing the way he ended before he got hurt in his freshman season. And by all accounts, he's throwing extremely well. We're going to ask Jay about all of those types of things and all of the guys that are surprising him. And look, we've gotten asked this question a lot over the course of the last year and a half. When are they going to make some updates to Alex Box? Well, they're starting to make them. And
Ask Mikey and Mitch.
And that was big Ask Mikey and Mitch question, which it is Wednesday, which means it is Ask Mikey and Mitch. So if you have other questions, put them in the chat. We'll get to them as we get through the show. Lloyd, you gotta let me know when Jay gets in there. Appreciate you. But we are excited to talk about him. This baseball team may just be the deepest, most well-rounded team that Jay's ever had at LSU. And that's saying a lot. Obviously, he won national championship in 2023. But these are all his guys that he's brought in, right? He's recruited. He's got a lot of talent of guys coming back, right? So they're making that next move. He brought in a lot of transfer talent on the mound specifically. And he has a lot of freshmen that came in that could have been very high draft picks, turned down a lot of money to come to LSU. And it just seems like everything is kind of coming in together. They seem like they're going to be a little bit more athletic. Seem they're going to run the bases a little bit differently than they have in the past. And they're also going to have some power bats in the middle. And it just feels like they're pretty well-rounded. So I'm excited for baseball season. It's not quite here yet, but they're in the fall. If you haven't gone out to a scrimmage to see them, go out and see them. Not many left. I believe the Purple and Gold World Series is right around the corner. Usually it's around Thanksgiving. I don't know the exact, maybe like the week before Thanksgiving. I don't know exactly the date, but it should be here pretty soon. In other baseball news, Josh Smith, Silver Slugger, utility of the American League. Congratulations to him. That's a big honor. Big honor. Big honor. DJ LeMahieu, and obviously Bregman has probably won one, I would imagine. DJ is the only person in Major League Baseball history that's won it. Well, I guess not anymore. Arias, I think, has done it.
Luis Arias?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now he was
Took a
first.
long
He
time,
was the first.
Took a long time.
And now you had a guy who did it twice. I think he did it in two straight years.
Back-to-back years, yeah.
Back-to-back years. But Silver Slugger is a great accomplishment, a great award. Congratulations to Josh Smith. And hopefully he continues that next year.
What do you hit?
Huh?
What do you hit?
I don't know.
Don't have the numbers off the top, right?
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head.
How many Silver Sluggers do you get?
Every position gets one.
Yeah.
Oh, so
And a team, apparently, now.
Oh.
So
I thought there was just one.
The names that he was on the Silver Slugger list with are very impressive. It's kind of the who's who of baseball. And Josh was, out of all the utility guys that qualified, he got the Silver Slugger. So congratulations to him. That's great. The Silver Slugger in the National League was Mookie Betts for the utility, but he was obviously played shortstop and right field. So he, kind of played utility position.
Did what he had to do to help win a World Series.
He did what he had to do to help win the World Series. No doubt. No doubt. Do we want to get into the? What do we want to do? Get into the baseball conversation until Jay gets in here?
He's here.
He's here. Perfect. Yeah, take the seat. We a lot of questions. We have a lot. Did a lot of good prep for this. Hope he's ready. Hope he's ready for your questions, Lloyd.
I don't really, I'm gonna let y'all run the meeting. I don't want to
No,
take over. I don't,
that's not how it
this is where
is.
people need information from Coach. They don't want me to bogart the meeting.
Well, you're going to do it anyway.
I'm
and
sure
that's
I'll
okay.
step in at some point.
Yeah, and that's
absolutely.
okay. Without further ado, we're going to welcome friend of the show, guest of the show, friend of ours, friend of Lloyd's.
Family.
Lloyd's best friend.
Extra seat.
The what?
It's an extra seat at the table.
Extra seat at the table just for Lloyd.
Kids table.
The recruiting coordinator is Lloyd. The recruiting master, number 1 recruiting class in the country. Coach Jay Johnson, welcome back to the show, Coach. It's been a minute, but we wanted to give you a little break from us, obviously from Lloyd specifically. You look great. Team looks great. They just announced that y'all are the number 1 recruiting class in the country this year. Congratulations. You've been on the recruiting trail very hard over the last, since you got to LSU or really your entire career. What does that say about you? That's back-to-back years that you've had some of the top recruiting classes in the country. What's that say about your staff and the guys that brought these guys in?
Well, I think it says a lot about LSU in general, that this is a place where the top players in the country want to be. And I think there's really a no weakness type deal to the recruiting here. When you look at the championship tradition, the great coaches, obviously spearheaded by Coach Bertman and what he established, the tradition of players, great players that have played here, that have ascended to not just Major League Baseball, but the top of Major League Baseball. Obviously, you're looking at Bregman is competing for the MVPs, winning a Silver Slugger, Gold Glove every year. Nolan Cosman, always in the middle of the Cy Young conversation. DJ LeMahieu, borderline Hall of Famer, in my opinion, in terms of the career he's had. And then obviously we got a lot of momentum, as a program right now, winning the national championship 15 months ago or 16 months ago, whatever it is. And, Paul, is going to win the Rookie of the Year in the National League, finalist for the Cy Young. Dylan, 14 months after playing college baseball, is up in the big leagues. And so a lot of good things happening right now, and that certainly helps in the recruiting efforts.
Let's talk about obviously the fall, right? The fall you can get a lot from it as a coach. Obviously the fans can see it in one way, but coaches look at it a little differently. When you bring in the number 1 recruiting class in the country, that brings competition, right? Competition is good for teams. Competition makes teams kind of rise to that next level. You had a lot of freshmen come in last year, get an opportunity to play, right? Kind of develop, and they come into year 2, and you'd imagine they take that next step. Well, you also had a really good recruiting class come in, and those freshmen and transfers are coming in there, and they're trying to earn a spot, right? Based off of what I've seen, read, listened to you talk about, it feels like there's 4 or 5 guys that you could put at shortstop, and you feel pretty comfortable with them playing there. There's about 7 guys you can throw out in the outfield that you feel pretty comfortable playing them there, and you get about 15 pitchers that you feel like that are going out there and that have been very competitive and very good on the mound. How has this fall been? And how have those competitions shaken out?
Yeah, I think, you mentioned competition, and I think of that movie, We Are Marshall, where I think it's Matthew McConaughey's the coach, and they're trying to put together like a whole new team. And he talks about competition breeding improvement. And I really believe in that. And I think we have a little better sense of what we have right now than we did a year ago. Obviously, the year before, 13 players drafted, coming off a national championship. There was a little more uncertainty, question marks, if you will. But this year, we only have 12 returning players, from last year that actually played in a game for us. And so there's like 26 new players or something along those lines. And we really are much deeper. And I think that gives us a lot of options in terms of, the lineup and pitching staff and potential matching up down the road, all those types of things. So I'm excited about that. I think the other thing that's kind of only for me, it's not really relevant to your question, is because we have more depth, like I have a little bit better feel of who some players actually are, pitchers having to get really good hitters out, hitters, facing really good pitchers, and what type of at-bats do they take against the best guys. So I'm excited about that part of it. I think we have a little better indication like last fall, like the scrimmages were completely tilted towards the pitchers dominating.
Yeah.
And that was because we have a ton of position player depth. Now I feel like we have both sides of the ball. Either team that you play on in the inter-squad game has really good players. The pitching, can go deep through the weekend. And so I feel good about that part of it. And yeah, I mean, guys are looking around going like, hey man, you have to break it every single day or, you are replaceable. I think that's probably what I like about this team the most is you have to have superstar players to win. And I think we definitely have some capable superstar type players, but I don't feel like there's one player that is necessarily irreplaceable on our team or our pitching staff without somebody that could step in and do an adequate job. And so, yeah, the coaching staff's done a really good job of recruiting and developing guys. There's some guys that were here last year that are better now. And I'm excited about that. And we got a lot of work to do to see how it's all going to unfold. But very happy with how this team's approached fall baseball.
Coach, you speak about, by the way, good to see you. It's been a while. I haven't seen you in a minute. Good to see you again. We speak about the recruiting and the development. I think when you have the absence that someone like this guy I'm about to mention has had, but he's had the ability to sit and speak with the Paul Skeens and be around these people and see how they go and to be able to develop and rehab and get back to it. How does Chase Shores look right now, and how do you feel about him going forward? Because I would imagine this is a guy, if he is developing the way he should be at the top end of this thing and should be a big contributor this year.
Well, he's going to be a big contributor. There's no question about that. And, I think it was one of the more not talked about things, if you will. We didn't have him last year.
Right.
And, we really struggled on Sundays in league play. If you look at the rest of it, it was a pretty normal year and in a lot of ways a good year, but we really struggled on Sundays. And this is a guy that was starting for us on Sundays early in the season, on one of the best teams in LSU history. And when he went down in April of 23, I really believed that team in 23, we could work our way through it. But I always had a pit in my stomach of what that meant for last year. Now, moving forward for this year, it's so good to see him back. And he's got a great arm. He looks like a major leaguer in terms of his body. He's moving great down the mound. He's throwing a ton of strikes, and he's been up to 99, and is really working hard. And he has taken advantage of, having an opportunity to be around Paul that first year, but then also, to have him around now while he's working out. I see them talking all the time, and always smile on my face when I see that because Chase has a lot of ability. I believe he's going to pitch in the major leagues, and we certainly missed him last year, and he's had a really good fall, and he's close. When I say close, he's close to really, realizing his potential, which will be a great thing for our team.
Coach, staying on the pitching staff, you have 3 starters in the weekend. You have 1 midweek, but it seems like you have 4, 5, 6 guys potentially right now that you feel comfortable that could probably be in the starting rotation. Obviously, Chase Shores is a given. But you have Cade Anderson coming back. You have Anthony Ayenson in there. William Schmidt came in there. Gavin Gidger's been throwing multiple innings. I don't know if you have him as a potential starter or just a swing guy or a guy who's going to be able to be any type of role, type of pitcher. Zach Cohen came in. So you have a lot of guys that can be in that starting rotation. How do you navigate through that? And I think we've learned last year that you can't have too many starting pitchers because once you get into postseason play, that's a blessing to have guys that can go and throw game 5 and 6 when you need them.
Shout out Will Helmers.
Shout out Will Helmers.
That's his first drop in, by the way.
The legend.
I wish we would have won that game for a lot of reasons, obviously, but it did that was a heroic performance that probably not going to get talked about enough, and was awesome. As far as navigating the pitching staff and having multiple guys, every year is a little bit different, and our league is really tough to get through, in terms of guys getting into the 5th and the 6th inning. I mean, that's kind of one of the positive things about last year's Luke Holman, Gage Jump. They were really able to do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, those two and Griffin Herring, like those three guys, that was the strength of the team. No question about it. But I think there's better volume this year. And I know that to be true because, like I said, I don't think we're going to get tricked by somebody just getting a bunch of outs in the fall because we have more good position players. And so the pitchers are getting tested, you know, in terms of having to navigate through, you know, good hitters, no matter which side they're on or they're facing. They're having to make pitches. And we got a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things. And, you know, you mentioned a few of them, you know, that'll compete for those spots. Kate Anderson, you know, had a very good freshman season last year and is ready to make a step forward, has made a step forward with his stuff, tightened up his breaking ball, getting more swings and misses on that. You mentioned Anthony Ianson, a guy we're really excited about, Zach Cowan. Both those guys threw a ton of innings last year. So they're actually done for the fall. We feel like we got where we wanted to with them. So they won't pitch here these last couple weeks. Those guys have started and have had success starting and bring something to the staff where, you know, they can be used kind of in any type of role. You mentioned Gavin. We are looking at potentially starting him. He started the scrimmage on Sunday through 2 scoreless innings. He's had a lot of strikeouts throughout the fall here. He's done a great job with his body, did a good job in the off-season program. You know, went out and worked out at Driveline in Arizona, and he was, you know, 93, 94 on Sunday, which is a tick up.
Yeah.
And still has the Dr. Death breaking ball and, you know, good changeup. So we know he can do anything, and I really believe in his competitiveness. Connor Ware is a guy that has really pitched well this fall, and somebody that will definitely be talked about a lot as we get into the season, as a guy we feel good about. And the freshman pitchers they're good. They're really good. Yeah. And we're in a really good spot with, you know, William Schmidt, Kason Evans, Maverick Rizzi, Cooper Williams. So really excited about those pieces. And
feels like you got a basketball team on the mound. Feels like you got two six. You feels like you have a basketball team on the mound. You have Rizzi's 6'9", Chase Shore 6'8". You got a monster pitching staff.
Yeah, we're not recruiting any pitchers that look like me or Lloyd.
Coach, I'm still working on the knuckler. If you need me, I still got eligibility.
Yeah, Jay, you got something?
Yeah, Coach. No, go ahead.
No, changing speeds. Have to do it.
Coach, I was going to ask you, look, I know you're an offensive guy, so I think that this question will hit home with you a little bit. Because there's so many external factors about playing at LSU, and then obviously what being a college kid is in 2024, 2025, it's completely different than it was when we were in school and obviously than when you were in school. Having someone like Bear Jones back in the middle of your lineup who you know is that kind of a presence where you don't probably feel like because when you have a lot of other kids coming in who may be somewhere mixed in the middle of that lineup where they feel like maybe they have to do a little more to kind of announce themselves as here as opposed to just, hey, fit in and we'll figure it out as it goes. Having him back in the middle lineup, how much more sleep are you able to get at night? And is he possibly mixing somewhere else around the diamond as the season goes?
Yeah, I mean, it was a big deal to get him back. I mean, shortly after we finished up, I actually flew out to Georgia to sit with him and his family, and he loves being at LSU. And I thought, he was missed on in the draft in terms of his value. Thank God, because I am really happy to have him back. And, you know, on top of that, he's done a really nice job trying to take some leadership responsibilities, because that's really important, as you guys know. And, you know, something that, you know, maybe we were lacking a little bit, and you can't force it.
Yep.
You can't force it. It just doesn't work that way. And, you know, he said something that was pretty interesting to me is, you know, he wanted to take on one of those roles and be on a team that, you know, got back to Omaha, competed for a national championship with him kind of at the forefront. And I'm like, dude, you hit 14 homers and batted 300, you know, on a great team. And, you know, he wasn't in there, you know, in the postseason per se, but he was pretty much for the entire regular season, but I'm glad he felt that way. And yeah, I think you can't help but feel his presence, you know, in the box or in the on deck circle if you're the opposing team's pitching coach. You know, he's one of those guys that can change the game every time he gets to the plate. And I think he's improved as a hitter. I mean, he had quite a day on Sunday. Like it was really impressive. You know, I mean, it was a backside home run to right field, and then it was 3-0 bases loaded. Obviously, gave him the green light, and he didn't try to do much. He just stayed short and smashed one 442 feet. Well, then the very next at bat, he hits a ball that it's a low liner, hits the back of the infield grass, and I mean, roll all the way to the fence just about, you know, and that shows a lot of improvement as a hitter to be able to stay within yourself like that. So I'm proud of him, and, you know, he's continuing to get better, and that's good for all of us.
Lloyd. Yeah, two-parter here, Coach. First of all, I saw you got recognized on the field for the LSU-Alabama game. What was your mind state going to that? Because was it going the best for the football team? Were you expecting... Were you like, oh, God, please get a first down, touchdown, anything before I go out here? And then I'll follow up with the next question.
Yeah, you guys seem to be experts on LSU football from what I hear. I will tell you, like, I was, like, late getting out there. But, like, as I was walking out there, like, Jalen Milroe was flying right by me, like, for the first touchdown of the game. And I was like, wow, that's what real speed looks like. And, I would not want to play them from this point forward, you know, with that dude playing quarterback. It's kind of like what we had going, you know, last year with Jaden Daniels. And, you know, tough game, but, you know, a lot of faith in our football team and the coaches. I've spent some time over there, you know, with them, and they're on track as far as, you know, recruiting and developing and planning. And I'm excited to see those guys keep us getting better and finishing the year strong.
Feel free to throw any input in for the run game. I know you average about 10 yards a carry in high school, so if you want to help them get going, you might be that guy. But on a real note,
I mean, Caden Durham's a little faster than I was.
Keep me between the guard and tackle. How much does an environment like that, though, help with recruiting for the baseball side? And absolutely diabolical to make your LSU baseball team go play on Sunday after the Alabama game.
I thought you would like that one.
I would have missed the bus, Coach.
Yeah, so the atmosphere, like, you know, this is my 4th year here now, so it's not new. But every time, like, the pregame and the energy in the stadium, like, you're always standing there going, like, this is, like, the coolest thing I've ever seen. And then on Saturday night, prior to the game, that was, like, on another level. Yeah, I mean, and really, really awesome. And it really helps us in recruiting. We have 2 of the best players in the country that were here that aren't committed yet anywhere, that will sign with somebody here. And I know that has a super positive impact on us. Yeah, as far as the fall game at Louisiana Lafayette the next morning, like, I actually was trying to get that worked out to do it next week, but I think, like, us in Florida are the only 2 schools in the country still having fall baseball going on right now, or at least on this side of the country. So, you know, to be able to play somebody else, that was kind of our last shot, last crack. And then, you know, I mean, I'm all for challenge and mental toughness, and
no doubt.
I thought our guys handled it great.
That's 100% a mental toughness game.
Then Gavin Gidry's up there sweating on the mound.
Yeah, no, they played good out the chute, and I'll be honest, like, you know, I don't even have to play, and we got to about the 4th inning of that second game, and, like, I felt like I got, you know, hit in the face with a freight train or something. So
that's a lot of innings.
You know, I think it's good for our guys, like, in the sense that, yeah, it's not ideal, but you don't get to choose your circumstances all the time, especially playing in the SEC. So hopefully it's an experience, you know, we could draw from during the season, and, you know, everybody else can just chalk it up to we got a little bit of a crazy head coach.
No, I think that's going to bode well, because you don't put asterisks by those things. You know what I mean? That's what we were always told. They don't put asterisks by a game just because something didn't go the way you want it to go. But let's get back to the team. There's a question I wanted to ask a little earlier about, you have a lot of newcomers. I think one of the biggest positions that has probably the biggest question mark at it is the catching position, right? You talk about the leadership. You lost the leader in Milazzo, who was about as good as it gets defensively. You lost another leader back there in Travinsky, and you don't have the experience. You don't have the guys coming back right there at the catching position, but you bring in a very talented recruit in Aaron Beatty, and you bring in a talented transfer in Blake Priester, who's been swinging the bat really well this fall. So what's your thoughts on the catching position, and how are those guys kind of adapting to the staff and the adjustments of SEC caliber pitching?
Yeah, great question. Very excited with where we sit today, relative to, you're losing, Milazzo and Travinsky last year. So, not having any returning innings back at that position, that was obviously, weighing on my mind. But as we sit today, really couldn't be happier. I think the sign of a good catcher defensively is almost like the umpire. If you don't notice them, they're doing a great job. Yeah. And, from a receiving blocking standpoint, they've really improved throughout the fall. Coach Jordan has done a really good job with those guys. But the 2 fall games against Samford and Louisiana Lafayette, we've had very, very little drama behind the plate, and they're all throwing everybody out. We've thrown out 7 or 8 guys over the two games. And that's, 2 teams that, run good styles of offense and are pretty aggressive. So very excited. There's, 3 of them have kind of emerged towards the front. Luis Hernandez, transfer from Indiana State, has had a really good fall, is hitting as advertised, but, is really doing a good job behind the plate. So excited about Aaron Beatty, and he's so talented. He's a little closer to ready to make a positive impact than you would think at that position, at this level. And when I say at this level, I mean the top of the SEC, which is the top of college baseball. He's had a really, really impressive fall. And then you mentioned Blaze has hit some homers, and obviously has a really good throwing arm too. So I think we're in a good spot, and those guys just have to kind of keep getting better over the break. But they've developed a lot of trust in the pitchers and the pitching staff, and really happy with where we sit today as far as the catching position.
Coach, I would say let's keep going around the diamond right here, but I'm going to get a little bit off the diamond and ask about the stadium and the renovations.
Because we've been asked this a million times. I can't imagine how many times you've been asked.
Yeah, so I don't really know much about it. So I wanted, how is the renovations? What all has happened? Is there a phase 2? When's the dome coming? Just update us on it all. Let us know where we're at.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, to be honest with you. We added a bunch of premium seats down both foul lines.
Oh, good to know.
It looks good. I think it's going to be an awesome place for people to watch the game. It definitely is going to impact the game. There's a lot less foul territory. And so there's a lot of foul balls now.
Good.
Foul balls that go out of play.
Batting average is going to fly through the roof right here. I like it.
It should improve a little bit, for sure. I think the ability to get strikeouts from your pitching staff and the ability to play defense is going to be really important. Yeah. And then your ability to hit with 2 strikes and put the ball in play and take advantage of some of that has shown to be really, really important. So I don't really know. We got the bullpen, the formatting of the bullpen done. There's still a lot of work to get it enclosed, and you're going to do I think we're putting in a new fence. But I leave that to Dan Gass and his crew to figure all that stuff out.
Okay. That's good to know.
So no dome this year. That's not coming this year.
Yeah, I've been working on that one, but that doesn't seem to be on anybody else's wish list. But
it's not on the short list.
No, I think it's not. It's way down the list. It's all right. It'll happen one day.
Make the new basketball arena bigger.
Yeah, one day.
There.
It's hot as hell.
Coach, last question about the team, and then I'm going to let you go. I appreciate your time. Over the course of your time here, obviously you've had a bunch of different structures of teams, right? You had, a team came in your first year, and you're just trying to kind of figure out who was who and what they're going to do. 2023, you had a team that was full of guys that could hit the ball over the fence and drive the ball. You didn't really need to do a lot of things on the bases other than say, hey, go out there and swing it. Veteran team, talented team. And you had the arms that you had on the mound. Last year was kind of a little bit of a mixed bag, trying to figure out everything. This year it feels like, just from the outside looking in, that outside of the depth, not just with the depth that you have, it's a different type of team as far as athleticism goes. Feels like they're a little more a little bit faster. They're a little bit more explosive running the bases. That's just what it looks like for me. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing. And is that going to be incorporated in kind of the game plan, the strategy of this year's team?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you have to kind of play to what you have.
Right.
And the style of play, what we want to be able to do is do whatever we need to do to win. And I think when you look at that 23 team, obviously we hit 144 homers. I think that's the third most in school history. But the strike zone discipline on that team was phenomenal. Like, we just destroyed our opponents in terms of free bases. And it made those homers really count. And then you had solid hitting skills where you could take advantage of it with runners in scoring position. But, like, we couldn't run because, like, it's like I'm not sending Cade Beloso to steal. You know what I mean? I'm not sending Stravinsky to steal. I mean, Dylan could have stole more, but you're talking about the most valuable player you could ever have. And, like, one stolen base for me was never worth like the shortstop step on his hand and that sort of deal. Same thing with Trey Morgan, who kind of was nursing like a leg injury the whole time too. So, that was kind of what it was. I mean, last year, I did not love our offense last year because it was like kind of homer or nothing. And that's like the opposite of like what I believe in as a coach. You have to be able to hit first and then develop into power to be like really, really good.
Right.
And I think we're much more designed that way this year. And you're right on the speed and the athleticism, which rears its head in a lot of ways. First off, on defense, I'll use Chris Stanfield, transfer from Auburn. I mean, he made a play in center field in the first inning of the game on Sunday that is a big league play. It's like a Torrey Hunter, in the day type play. Like, and it was the value of like a 2-run homer.
Yeah.
And so the speed helps on the defensive side of it. You can steal more bases that way, but then the other impact of easily being able to go first to third, advance 2 bases at a time, the bunting game. We hit 4 homers in the first game the other day, but we also laid down 4 bunts, 2 of which ended up being hits because, Derek Curiel did one. He can really run, on the field. And then Danny Dickinson can really run. Somebody else had a bunt hit in there that I'm missing. But I think we got a chance to be like a complete offense. And like, that's kind of how I made my way as a coach. It wasn't really until I got to LSU where it was like, hey man, we can hit the ball over the fence a lot, So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
And cause not just because I want to play a certain way, it just, when you're versatile, it impacts the game in a positive way on both sides of the ball. So I think we're showing a lot of aptitude, and probably like the best thing our position players have done is what we've put into this point. We've shown a really good aptitude to be able to do it. And so I feel like we're pretty close to a good point to give them a little break and line them up some things for their individual development and then come back ready to roll in January.
Last one for me, Coach. You obviously ended up playing a lot of young guys last year. How much do you think that experience will kind of transfer over to this year where you had you had Milam, you had Jake Brown, all these guys that kind of stepped up and inserted themselves to being starters? How much do you think that helps going into this year where you have, obviously, transfers come in, but you have that base of experience that you got last year?
Yeah, I think to have a great team and to have a great program, like you want to have all phases of it clicking. For me, if I could do it where it was just, hey, you're bringing in guys and they're staying for 4 years and you're developing them, that's like always the way I would choose to do it. And so, yeah, like Ashton Larson, getting to play and contribute as much, Steven getting to play and contribute as much, and Jake, same thing. That will be really, really valuable, along with Jared, getting into a 3rd year. Josh Pearson's been here for 3 years. Like, we didn't have hardly any of that experience returning. So even though we only have 12 returning players, a lot of those guys got a lot of time and had good success. So that really helps. And then you mix those guys with some super, high-end freshmen, and I'm really excited about our freshman class on both sides of the ball. Like, they can really, really make an impact for this year and in the coming years, and should be like the foundation of this thing going forward. And then, the portal guys, you can get a lot of them, but that doesn't mean it's always going to work. And, I'm very confident, like, we picked a lot of the right guys that will add a dynamic and blend well in ability and chemistry to give us the type of team that can compete at the top of the league, which is, it's not easy to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you look around, and if you were to ask me what I like so far, I like the balance of our team. You look at some teams around the league, like Florida's going to have a ridiculous offense. Like, we don't play them, but they're going to have a ridiculous offense. Arkansas is like 9 guys throwing 100 or something like that. Like, so they're going to really, really pitch well. A&M's got all those returning players. It's kind of like the balance of what we have, and I think we're going to be able to win in different ways. And I like how the guys are going about their business at this point in time.
Well, Coach, we share in that excitement. Obviously, baseball season is really not that far away. You get the holidays, and then you get back, and it's really kind of getting ramped up for February. You said you have a couple weeks left, obviously, into the fall. You have some scrimmages this weekend, and then you have, I guess, the Purple and Gold World Series. If people want to go and watch y'all play, what is the schedule like here coming up? Obviously, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then what's after that?
Yeah, so this weekend we have Coach Wanaka and Jamie Tutko. It's the Chief, which is what we call Coach Wanaka, and Jamie World Series. So they drafted teams last night. Really good draft.
Nice.
Part of it is we have more depth.
Yeah.
And so I think the teams are pretty even. So honestly, I think this is the weekend you want to come out and watch. 4:30 on Friday. And then I think it's noon on Saturday and Sunday. Like, this is the weekend you want to watch. We will do the Purple and Gold World Series, but it's kind of starting to shift to maybe like a 2-game, shorter game type deal as we do what's best for some pitchers and those kinds of things. And like I said, I like where we're at. Feel good about the health of the team, what we've got accomplished, and we got a couple weeks or 10 days, whatever, that we can do some stuff. And this weekend will be a good weekend. It'll be highly competitive, and this is the weekend to come out. And I think it would really help our team. We played the two fall games on the road, because of the renovation stuff. And, if you want to get out and see us, this is a good time. And it's always good for our players to play here with fans in the stands.
Who went first overall?
Who went first? Luis Hernandez went first
overall.
Big swinger.
In the draft, it was a very interesting draft strategy. So I'm going to sell him out a little bit. Coach Tutko was trying to corner the market on catchers, and then Coach Wanaka gave it right back to him with infielders. And then there was big pitching trades at the end. I mean, it was good.
Wow. Is there any wager like the loser gets or does or has to do anything? Like, maybe, I don't know, enter into like a bodybuilding contest or something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, maybe like a swimsuit calendar.
Yeah. There we go.
Our players, they would love that now. So we got to come.
No doubt. Well, Coach, we're gonna come out there for at least one game. I'm gonna be out there either Saturday or Sunday. Come and watch y'all play. No, I really am. I've been meaning to go out there. Weather's kind of been a little. Y'all can't put asterisk by it, but I can put an asterisk by it when the weather's bad in the fall. I'm not going out there. I'll follow it from the internet. But we appreciate your time as always. We'll have you on obviously a lot more frequently as the season gets closer to us. And good luck the rest of the way.
Cool. All right, guys. See you soon.
All right, Coach. See ya. Boy, I'm fired up for baseball season. They're gonna be good.
They are gonna be good.
And you can tell his demeanor right now compared to his demeanor last year, he doesn't have really many questions anymore. Last year he just didn't know, hey, is this guy gonna is he gonna perform? Is he gonna actually develop or take the next step? What are we gonna do if this guy goes down? This year it feels like, man, when we scrimmage, we have both teams are full of guys that we could start either team, and I'd be confident in winning that game. So says a lot. The first pick in this draft was Luis Hernandez.
Yeah. Seems like there's a lot of maturity on the team too, which bodes well for a team to kind of be one of those last 8 teams and or better left at the end of the year. Obviously, the talent's there. That's not even a question. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing kind of comes together.
Yeah, I want to see there. I mean, there's a lot, man. I wanted to ask him so much more. I wanted to ask him about the freshmen. I wanted to ask him about Dickinson. I wanted to ask him about Curiel. He kind of mentioned how he can fly, but he's been also hitting some homers, driving the balls in the gap. We're just going to have him on again a few more times to really get all the information that we really want. But I'm excited about it.
There's a time when he was weekly.
Huh?
So there's a time when he was
weekly.
Well,
there is a time. I mean, he was weekly last year.
Might have to bump him
out. Every year he's weekly.
If LSU football wasn't in this conundrum to where they could
which is a great segue.
Yeah.
Great segue, Lloyd. So, yeah, we, obviously baseball is going on in the fall, but football is happening.
It's not over yet.
It's not over.
Not quite
We
dead.
jokingly said this on Monday, and things have come out since then that to make it to where it wasn't really that much of a joke because – it's really not that far-fetched. You don't really need a lot of upsets. You need really one team to upset another team, and that's really it. If all the favorites win, right, everyone who is supposed to, which doesn't always happen, obviously.
Not this year.
But everyone that's supposed to win, if they win the next 3 weekends, and Arkansas beats Missouri, LSU is in the SEC championship game, which is wild to say after what happened in the last couple weeks. Now, we've talked about all the issues. We talked about the things that were going wrong. We talked about everything they need to do to get better. Everybody wants that fire Brian Kelly. He's not it, or you don't like him. Whatever, right? Before I let everyone else have their kind of say on the chances of LSU making the SEC championship game and moving the state of the program moving forward. For all of you that want Brian Kelly gone, don't like him, think he's not the right fit, just because he's aggravating or arrogant, he's not good. He's lost 3 games 3 years in a row. Y'all need to take a step back and realize, hey, y'all going to deal with this because he ain't going anywhere. It's too expensive to get rid of him. You don't realize, and I think you think you realize, but you don't realize how much of a shit show it was when he got here, right? It was closer to Saban coming here after the 1999 season than it was when Les got there after Saban, when O got there after Les. Right? And so it was in a really bad spot. I think worse off than a lot of people thought. We got tricked because Brian Kelly came in there and they made it to the SEC championship game in year 1. Right? It was a great haul in the transfer portal, and you got one of the best quarterbacks in the history of college football to come in here and be your quarterback. Right? That the next year you didn't hit in the portal, and so you struggled. So now you're building this recruiting class, and I feel like he has the right guys in place. I feel like he's created the momentum, and I feel like he's put this program in a position that they're going to have success for a long time for years to come, not just a one-hit wonder, right? So if you don't like him, fine, cool. You don't have to like him, but he's our guy. So you either get on board with him being the guy or you get off board with him being the guy and be miserable for the next 7 years because he ain't going anywhere, so just deal with it. And he's going to be, I promise you, he's fine. Now, the one thing that obviously you can't argue is he hasn't won the big games yet. Really anywhere he's been, that's TBD for me, right? Yeah, he hasn't. He beat Alabama here 2 years ago, but let's let him get his guys in. I think this year is the first year of his true recruiting class. Next year he's got the better recruiting class coming in, and so he's finally putting all his guys together, and he's got the right staff. So let's pump the brakes on the hate. And you know what? It's a lot easier to be supportive of someone and have more fun that way than to be negative Nancy.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, look, I still think there is a ways to go in terms of recruiting to be able to draw what you need to consistently be in the road game at Kyle Field, home game against Alabama. I'm not saying that like you can't win those games, but where I think things still are right now, and I think this is why the big game thing is still a question, is because for me, it's like I said, it's not about the road game at Kyle Field or playing Alabama coming in that situation. But even with those 2 losses, if you take care of game 1 against a team who is right now a 5-loss team who could very easily be by the end of the year a 6-loss team, you are much more in the conversation, like legitimately in the conversation for this playoff situation than you are right now.
Right.
And I think when you look back on the total of the season and you look at what you got, you're going to sit here and that USC loss could be the one that potentially bites you in the butt.
No doubt.
But that's why the big game conversation has been a thing for Brian Kelly, because he has over time always just lost 1 or 2 more games than he probably should have.
Right.
And you've always been able to say, well, I can't recruit the guys that I have or that you can in this kind of a league, which is true when you were at Notre Dame. But that's not the problem of the 2024 season right now. The thorn that may stay in their back is a loss to what is right now 5-loss team, maybe a 6-loss team.
And what I say doesn't mean that you can't criticize and you can't question and you can't be mad at some of the things. He's not going to do everything perfect, and he's not going to do everything where we're all going to agree on it. But I'm more so saying, hey, the narrative of like we don't like him, let's get him out of there. Like that needs to go away, and it needs to be, hey, let's get this thing right. And I think, like you said, there's nothing that those things don't go without consequences. The losing games, the first game of the season, and losing it to a team or having one loss a year that you probably shouldn't have. Like those don't go without consequences. Those don't go, oh, we're just gonna give you a pass on that, right? Like some of the coaching decisions he made early on, which we understand why he did, and he brought those guys back, right? Some of the things that he has done, that he has corrected, those don't go without consequence. But he's here, so let's just let's get on board with that. And listen, go ahead.
I think there's an understanding too of this fan base will forever, in my opinion, be a little, I guess, overshot in what the expectations are here because we chased that bear of Nick Saban for so long after actually having him in the zoo here, and he got away, and then he went and did what he did. So everyone thinks that, especially here, if you're not a 10-win regular season team, then you don't have the right guy at the top of the helm, and that's gonna forever be probably the thought here because of what this place was, or however you want to look at it, because of the height that it rose to. That's what's going to be the look, and obviously the team that you were in such contention with for so long, you still are.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's kind of always going to be a thing. It's once you really do start getting the players, and I do think like this recruiting class is the one where you're looking at it, if it stays the way it is right now, and you start and you bring in the Berries and the Underwoods and all these dudes, and you have the dudes, this is about the time where you're going to see, okay, well, when we get to the end of the year, are you still losing that 1 to 2 games against whoever or whoever it is? Because that's going to be the question.
This recruiting class, the first one that he's brought in, listen, he brought in there's a couple guys in the other recruiting class, but this is the first one that he's brought in that you're going to look back and say, this could potentially put them in a situation where they have first rounder after first rounder after first rounder if they go all develop and become the guys that they want to be.
And I'll say this too. This is the last part about it is for me is, and I don't know, I don't have the figures of what they actually spend or what they've done in the NIL or the transfer portal when it comes to signing players and how much they're signing them for. But with some of these numbers coming out about the Texases and the Ohio States and in the neighborhood roundabout numbers, is LSU going to continue to be a large player in that situation? Because you saw Brian Kelly come out last year and straight up say, hey, look, if you're just looking for a check, this ain't the spot. And I'm sure a lot of teams are trying to do this to not have everybody kind of run up there for a king's ransom, right? Is LSU going to continue to be at the top, the upper echelon, I guess, in the sense of, hey, we're going to pay and we're going to give this much and we're going to do it? Or are you going to kind of fall by the wayside, maybe that 5, 6, 7, maybe 10, 11, 12, and you're not going to get up there? Because if you're not, you're going to miss out on some damn good ball players. And it just is what it is. No doubt. Like I said, I don't know what they actually are spending now. All I'm saying is to be able to sprinkle and top off your roster that kind of way, it's a thing. And if you want to think about it, I guess the best way of looking at it is if you go into the NFL and let's just say season's over and let's just say said team says, hey, we're not using them free agents, bro. We only going to do the draft, okay?
Yeah, it's not going to work out.
Probably not going to be a very good team. You're probably not going to be competing for a Super Bowl every year. That's kind of where you're at.
Yeah. You're not a team that seems like that they're setting themselves up to make a run.
You become Clemson.
But not only, well, I don't want to say it like that, but like more of the NFL model, like teams that go out and spend in free agency and do it to try to top off your team.
Yeah,
those are people that are looking to make we're 1 or 2 pieces away.
Teams in the NFL that go and build their roster through free agency, or teams in the NFL that go and build their roster just by the draft. Neither one of those teams win. Right, you're gonna have to have a mix, right? Yep. And you're gonna have to go and get the free agent guys to go mix in with the other guys, and that's how you create a team. Unless you win that 1 year and you don't win every.
But that's why I say, like, I don't know what they're spending now, but with the numbers coming out about what everybody else is spending, you would only think that's gonna either, I won't say continue to grow, because they're figuring out a way to put a cap on it anyway, so there will be a cap, but the numbers are gonna be there. Are you gonna continue to be at the top end of that situation?
Right.
that's going to be
Look,
the
because you don't want to end up like Clemson, where it becomes
right,
very
where you're
apparent
not-
that you're
when you're
not,
not doing
in
the
the
work.
game.
Yeah.
And I think LSU is, but I also think like you kind of set the table for what LSU is trying to do, and I understand some of the criticism around Brian Kelly because of how it started, and I say that and we had this conversation off air where it's layered, where he felt like he came into a program that he needed a complete overhaul,
which he was right.
and he was right to an extent, and then you kind of got a little bit of that, brother, you don't know how it works down here feel. But to his credit, he's corrected that and brought in a Frank Wilson instead of a Brian Polian to run your, like, that's not going to win you a national championship having Polian run your recruiting in Louisiana. Frank Wilson moves mountains.
Yeah.
He got Jakeem Stewart to early enroll, go to a different high school and be able to early enroll so he can come to, you would imagine, LSU early because you need help on the defensive line. Brian Polian is not pulling those levers to be able to make that happen. You have the right people in place. You saw Corey Raymond on staff. You saw him leave, and you brought him back. Blake Baker, same thing, and you elevated his role. So he's made the right things, but I think, and I want to get your thoughts on this, if he had never said, judge me on year 3, do you think that that's where LSU is?
No. Well, yes.
Or the fan base.
Yes,
yeah, I do.
Because of year one.
That's what I think that's become a widely kind of known thing anyway at this
All
point.
right.
He said it, but I think he said it knowing that people already look at it that way. Like, hey, you've been here 3. Like, where you at? What you doing?
Less 1-3, 0-1-3.
Yeah.
Not just here. I think literally across the nation, you can look at it as you bring in a new coach. By year 3, if you haven't turned the roster around, if you haven't turned the program around, and you're not doing things that maybe we weren't doing when we hired you, why are you here?
Well,
or why do we keep you here longer? So I do think that's kind of a thing around the league.
And I think had it gone differently, right? Had he come in here and gone 8-4, and then had he gone 9-3, had the expectations of this year wouldn't be like they were. Oh, you got to go and win 10 wins. But he instead overachieved. In the first year was in the SEC championship game, which was awesome, right? He got a world-class quarterback to come here and developed him and made him into the even better quarterback. And then the next year after that, you had a legendary offense, and you had an opportunity to go out and win 10 regular season games. Had some things not going your way. You had a defense that wasn't horrific, right? You probably would have been better. And so he did a good job putting them in those situations, and he's doing it again. He has a chance to have 10 wins again this year, not regular season wins. But I think if had that gone differently, I think that people would have thought differently of it.
And
he would have been on a hotter seat earlier.
I'll put some pushback on it because let's just play it out. Let's think about it. If you come here, it's expected that you continue to grow. It's expected that you continue to get better. So let's say year 1 he comes in here and wins 8 games. Well, where do we expect you the next year?
9.
So if you win 9 last year, where do we
10.
expect you this year?
Yeah,
10 probably puts you in the SEC championship.
Right.
So you're pretty much in the exact same spot. So I think honestly, 8 wins that first year, he would still be in this spot because you're expected to keep getting better. And he's been able to. He comes in and wins 10 and finds a way to win 10 again. Well, now people are like, well, we need 11.
Yeah,
we need 12.
and look, I get it.
So I think he would be in the same spot.
I get it, and that's the expectations. That's things you can't ever manage, and those people are going to have expectations. You can't. High expectations are good. That means you've won before in a program, and that means you're expected to win, which any coach wants that.
And let's we'll put this on it as well, and we can be completely frank about this. Coach, they ain't paying you $10 million to come win 8.
No doubt.
They ain't paying you $10 million to come win 8 in year 3 either.
No doubt.
Like they're paying you that to be at the top end of this thing. So it just is what it is.
And look, and with all that being said, right, we talked about this whole conversation started with them not being out, having a chance to make it to the SEC championship game. They have now the main priority of that whole situation is they have to win in all 3 games. They have to go on the road this weekend and play Florida, which DJ Lagway is getting better, progressing every day. Who knows if he's going to play? Even if he does play, he's a freshman quarterback. He hasn't been able to, he's shown flashes, but hasn't really been able to do it consistently or stay healthy consistently. You go on the road. How's LSU going to respond, right? What are they going to look like? Because the last 2 games game and a half have not been good.
Given up 80 points.
You've given up 80 points
in the last 6 quarters.
Right? That's not great. Don't love that. And so, and now you got to go. Now you got to go on the road against Florida, which they're not great. They're playing better, but they hate you. So it's going to be hostile. They want to beat you. They want to ruin any hope that you have at all for the rest of this season. So how are you going to respond? You go out there and you respond well, and you beat them, and you play, and you go and you take care of business, and you play better, and you look disciplined. You fix the things that you struggled with the last 6 quarters. You come back, you build a little bit more confidence. People start to watch. Now you go play Vandy at home, who's got some big wins, not just a cupcake. You go and you beat them. You set yourself up for a November 30th matchup at home against Oklahoma, who struggled so far this year, where if you do win that game and you get one little bit of help, you are right back in the SEC championship game with an opportunity, to have a first-round bye in the playoffs, right? Which is wild. Which I think is great for college football that you still have that opportunity even with 3 losses with this new format.
Oh, well, it's great because you're root for LSU and they're the one in the position. But if you're Alabama or Georgia,
no
you're
doubt,
fucking
don't want that.
They're gonna have to reconfigure this entire thing, which will just mean add new playoff spots because this is what happened whenever you decided it was no longer East and West and just made it a round robin SEC tournament.
Wait, time out. Why do you think they need to reconfigure it?
Because I don't think this is what they intended to happen.
I think they knew this was possible. I think they knew, hey, you may possibly have a conference champion that maybe no one looked at them as the conference champion before the year, maybe even halfway through the year, but now they're here and they're in that spot. I do think where it needs to kind of be reconfigured is how do we figure out the other 8 spots? Because it can't just be, it's not just, but it's heavily on record and this and that, and there needs to start there needs to start being some of these things like we kind of talked about it off the show, and I guess we could sit here and talk about Georgia as one of those teams where you sit here and say, I've heard that be a part of it. The eye test hasn't been great. Well, much like when you watch the NFL and anybody can beat anybody and the eye test really don't mean shit, when you play the best schedule in the country, the eye test probably ain't going to be that great simply because from week to week you're getting beat up so much and you're having to go through so much to get through the schedule. I'm not surprised that the eye test isn't great. But if you start stacking wins and you keep stacking wins, that should reign a little more supreme in this league. Yeah. And guess what? It should be judged a little different in this league than it is in maybe some other ones. So I do think once you get past the conference champions, those top highest rated conference champions, that's where there needs to be some conversation. All right, we're going to have to reconfigure how we put this together because that's where it's going to be a problem at right now.
Yeah, and college football is in a precarious position because it's always been a made-for-TV event ever since the playoffs been incepted, right? Like the BCS was almost made for TV, but you just blamed the computer. Now it feels like they're trying to pluck a team from every conference and every conference that can give you eyeballs as opposed to are you really putting the best teams in?
And part of that I don't want to keep going.
No, that's all I have to say. Like,
and part of that, part of the reason why people feel that way is because Miami got beat by Georgia Tech.
Very good. Tech team.
Yeah, not very good Georgia Tech team. Everybody thought they may have been kind of good because they beat Florida State until everybody realized Florida State stinks and they're going to go 1 and whatever for the rest of the year. They lose. They beat Miami, and it was never really close.
No, Miami's been playing with fire like that.
They dominated.
That's how they played all year.
Right.
Yeah, they played all year.
Right. And so a team that's not as talented as them beats them. They go from 4th or 5th or 3rd, whatever, 2nd, I don't even know what they were, to 5th. Right? Georgia gets beat handily by Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a top 10 team. They lost on the road to Alabama in a great game, even though the first half was played terrible, but they came all the way back. They lose to 2 top 10 teams, and they are now ranked 11th. I know they have 2 losses. But to go from 2nd overall, or second in the rankings to 11th because you lost to a top 10 team, like, I'm not so sure about that, and I think that's what you're talking about, right? Like, it feels like they're trying to get the ACC to make sure that they're positioned that they are in there no matter what, which they have to be if they win it, but potentially get 2 teams. I don't know. No, they'll only get 1. They'll definitely only have 1. Because SMU and Miami's elimination game, they're not going to be in with 2 losses.
Yeah, but then that's the same conversation you could have about Indiana and in the Big Ten. In the Big Ten,
right.
Like if their last loss or if BYU's loss, they lost to SMU. If they lose and their second loss comes in a de facto championship game for their conference, and then you have Notre Dame sitting there who's lost to Northern Illinois, but they don't play in a conference championship game, and you benefit from somebody playing an extra game.
So
need Army to beat.
Here's my question, because you said
badly.
You said there won't be 2 ACC teams. Do we know for sure that if Miami wins out because they're still rated pretty high and then they'll be a top 4 seed, if they win the conference championship and SMU wins out and loses to Miami in a close ball game. Mm-hmm. Do we know for sure that there won't be two ACC teams?
We don't. But let's just say LSU makes it to the SEC championship game and wins. So they're gonna steal a bid from somebody because they got 3 losses, right? So now Texas or Georgia or Alabama, whoever wasn't in that championship game that probably would have gotten in. Now, do they get bumped out and SMU gets in, or they get in over
that's
SMU?
That's just saying if LSU does. I'm just saying period.
No, I'm just saying that's another hypothetical, right? Yeah. Like, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe
that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not so sure that you won't see.
But that goes to the eye test.
Squads,
that goes to the eye test and the strength of schedule. Like, SMU's strength of schedule isn't all that great outside of the BYU game.
Strength of schedule isn't really being used. And
no. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm agreeing with you. Yeah. This goes back to like. It should be weighted more than it actually is.
Yeah.
Right now, look, SMU is a good team, but are they a top 12 team in the country? I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, if they go out and they get curb stomped by Miami, then okay, yeah, they weren't quite ready. But if they go out there and it's a tight game and they bring Miami the ropes, even though they've played Miami's done that all year, they may be worthy of getting back in.
And then you can flip it to the other side of say they do beat Miami.
Right.
And Miami's at that point
because they obviously love Miami.
Team. Like,
you're right.
How far would they fall? You know what I mean? Like, would they be for sure out? Like, there's a lot going on with that.
And if BYU's only loss is in the Big 12 championship, what does that mean? If they lose to Colorado,
right?
Why would you kick them out and you put Notre Dame in? Because why? They played an extra game. They played for a conference championship whenever an independent school didn't have to, and their best wins are against
such a good
fucking service academies.
Yeah,
such a good
respect to the service academy.
Well, and that's the other thing, right? So you lose the NIU.
Navy lost again after that. So like that.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about Notre Dame's schedule. Like their best wins are what?
Nobody.
Their worst loss is
Northern Illinois. Huh? Yeah, their best wins against best win against first game of the season, right? A&M's better now than where that first game
of course.
Of the season.
Yeah, that's not even
and so that's your biggest win of the season, and you lose to NIU, not good.
At home.
At home, and then if you do lose to Army at home,
they're out if that happens. But I'm saying if they continue to, because they don't have to play in a conference championship, if they continue.
Now I believe that if they shouldn't be the 5 seed.
No, they can't be any higher than the 5.
No, I know, but they shouldn't be the 5 seed. Like a 5 seed is a good spot to be.
I mean, they're tracking towards.
I know that, like
they're penciled in.
With that one loss,
they're tracking. Let me tell you.
I know that, but my opinion is like their resume doesn't prove to be the 5 seed. They should be a 7, 6. They shouldn't get to be able to play the 12 seed.
Well, and that's my question. If BYU continues to go undefeated,
but honestly, Boise could beat them.
But if BYU continues to go undefeated and loses in the Big 12 championship, should they not be the 5 seed? Or would you put Notre Dame in over BYU, who lost to a Colorado team, as it stands?
Well, and that's the other thing. Colorado's not being in conversation about making the thing. If they go and beat BYU, now does BYU get in, right? Like you just said. And does Colorado's going to get in?
They have to get in.
So
they have to get, but
that's another
top 4 seed,
right? And that's another stolen bid. Yeah,
maybe.
They would be. Oh yeah, the
maybe.
Highest ranked. Yeah, right.
Maybe.
You're right. But like, you know what I mean? It's a wild.
Yeah,
it's a wild thing.
The whole thing is Notre Dame throws an entire wrench in this because you don't play a conference championship.
Hey, like I said before the year, we were all like talking about
they get to steal a bid.
4 teams who would be in. I go, there's going to be that 9 through probably 15 where there is going to be so many scenarios and so many conversations.
I can't
about
wait.
Who's in and who's out in those situations, and somebody's going to be getting the short stick.
I can't wait.
I can tell you that right now.
And right now it's Georgia.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait.
Yep.
We got 3 weeks left. It's gonna be a crazy last 3 weeks. All right, to ask Mikey and Mitch, do we have any questions in the chat? If not, we'll just keep going on what we're going on. If we do, we'll answer some of them.
Let me scroll up to the top. A lot of we have 2, 3, 4.
All right, let's get to them.
5. Some of these are 6. Okay. Some of these are for Coach Jay Johnson. I don't think he doesn't even answer my questions. So I don't know if he was going to take any from the chat.
All right, Ask Mikey and Mitch, brought to you by our friends at Mead Heavy Civil.
Moving questions forward. Fonzarelli in the chat. Thank you, buddy. Ask him him. Jay Mitch.
Hey.
When on the football field, what was worse to play in, rain or wind?
Rain or wind?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, rain's different. Wind's kind of whatever. I mean, it's not
that
big of a deal.
Quarterback wind stinks.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. It does kind of change some of the game plan and how you're able to push the ball down the field a little bit. And then it obviously plays in the kicking game and obviously the return game a little bit. But the rain's different. It becomes the ball security becomes a big issue at that point. And it really is about who's taking care of the ball the best at
And
that point.
I mean, all about you have to have a good ball boy, someone who's like on the ball, gets there, gets him in and out quickly. You know, NFL. If you ever watch a rain game in NFL, watch the ball boy. That's the hardest working man in the entire stadium. He's got a whole thing of balls dried, ready to go. It's crazy.
Yeah, just ask Texas Tech's ball boy who almost got accosted by Deion Sanders Jr. for just trying to get the ball back because not Shedeur. What's the other one? Shiloh wanted to keep the football for some reason. He's like, you can't keep it. That's our school's football. And then Deion Sanders Jr. came up and shoved him, and then they had to get security involved. It's like, you're not even on the fucking team, dude.
Yeah.
You do social media for your dad.
Isn't it crazy?
You're a
Deion Sanders Jr. The
nepo.com.
namesake.
Well, why do you get
not the same? Not the same athlete as the other kids, huh?
No, he's a big chunky fat kid. Like that shit was unbelievable. It does happen.
All the Jordans. Go ahead.
But,
next one.
Yeah, I mean, make sure you have a good ball boy. If he's too good, he gets assaulted. Ask him. What college stadium had the worst batter's eye?
The worst.
When I played LSU.
You really want to know?
Weird. It was non-existent.
Yeah, it wasn't very good here.
It was non-existent.
It's not very
good. In the new stadium. Lefty, you had no chance, basically. You throw him from Tiger Stadium, coach.
It was not good. Yeah, it was tough.
Is it
that
fixed?
one. It's a little bit better.
It's better.
Still not fixed. I mean, it needs to be higher.
It's not show, but it's better.
It's better than it was.
Yeah.
Other than that, like, I don't really.
Everybody else has got it figured out.
Everybody else pretty solid.
Trying to think. Yeah.
And I said this last week. Whenever we found out LSU was going to play, or whenever LSU was going to play at UL. UL's like hitters backdrop.
Yeah.
Is
they don't have a hitter's eye that's great, but the way they have the backdrop of the field with all the trees behind it, and there's not a whole bunch of seating back there, is great for hitting.
It is awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
And the trees are super tall.
Yeah.
So they cover the release points and stuff. It's good.
Yeah.
So y'all just see Tiger Stadium and then a baseball comes out.
Oh, sir.
Yeah, the ball comes out of Tiger Stadium here. Yeah, pretty much.
If you're a lefty on the side of rubber, and you throw, and you don't throw like submarine, you throw out here, it's coming out from outside of the hitter's eye.
Yeah.
It's haunted and it's loud.
No doubt. And it's invisible. You try to look like CeeDee Lamb trying to hit the ball.
That was unbelievable.
And the fact that Jerry Jones won't acknowledge that he's right. Did you see the picture from behind?
It's insane.
Like, not only you have to see it with the shadow, you have people trying to stop the ball. You have big human beings.
When he's nowhere near the ball that bad, that's when you're like,
hey, and then they show the picture, and I'm trying to find, man, when did he release it? And the ball is already on his hip. I didn't even see it in the picture.
Neither did CeeDee Lamb. He was like, oh shit, he threw that to me. He like saw it hit the ground. He was like, oh shit.
Wow.
You know why he did that, right? Have I said this?
What? Who?
Why Jerry built it like that?
Why? So
God can watch his favorite football team play on Sunday.
Did you just make that up?
No, that's a quote from Jerry Jones.
I think you just made that up.
I had to Google it.
Sounds like a Jerry Jones quote.
That sounds like a quote. It doesn't sound like something he was really standing by.
And they say they have like shade, like they have curtains. He just doesn't use them. And it's the only stadium constructed that way instead of north to south, it's south to north. So maybe it is why he wanted God to see him play.
Maybe.
He's an idiot. It's unbelievable.
God hasn't helped him.
And he really does think like
he's not an idiot.
He is an idiot.
He's been very successful in his lifetime. He's not an idiot.
A Nepo baby.
But he hasn't made. He's very stubborn.
He's stubborn.
And that's to his detriment.
Yeah.
Do you think he thought his last Super Bowl would be in '95?
His first year? Was it his first year as an owner?
No.
When did he buy the team?
In the 90s. I lie. I don't know the answer to that. I'm lying.
I thought it was in the 90s though.
He was the owner pretty much through the entire span.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He got.
That wasn't like he didn't get in at the end of it.
No, those are his.
Yeah.
I think he's after Landry.
But
he fired
maybe
two coaches.
He might have bought it in '88.
Like,
I don't know why that
I
number sounds.
thought it was 88.
89.
Yeah.
1989.
It is.
Ask J. Mitch. What was cooler, winning a natty in baseball or football? What meant more to you?
Oh, I get this question a lot. And
I've never actually I've never asked this.
It's a very.
It's
a contentious answer, and people don't understand why. But I'll give you why. what's cooler in my mind, if you've never gotten a chance to be around it and do it, is playoff baseball. And people are like, dude, what do you mean? I go, I don't think you understand until you're in that playoff baseball situation where people live and die up and down from pitch to pitch for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
Right? And now don't get me wrong, football is awesome. Football is great. But football is a constant noise until you get to real, like, crazy parts of the game and the back end of the game where it feels like it ratchets up even a little more. But you do so much that's noise-centric throughout the week, your preparation, when you show up to the stadium, when the ball's kicked off. It is that kind of noise where it's loud, and it's like a even loud.
Right.
It's like a just constant hum.
You can hear from pitch to pitch, the up, down, you can hear the entire crowd gasp.
You can
hear
the
in a third inning.
tenseness.
Like, you don't on a strike call, not even on a diving catch. Like, there is so much of it. It almost feels like every strike's not supposed to happen, like being thrown. It almost feels like every hit is like, oh my God, you just won the lottery type thing. Like, that's how the fan reaction is in playoff baseball. And until you like experience it, it's super hard to understand until you're like in the stadium for one of those. But I would say that because it's the constant up and down of it for you. At the end of the game, you're exhausted.
Yeah.
And then you do it again the next day. So that's the coolest part about it.
Playoff baseball is emotionally exhausting.
Yeah, I was about to say, it almost feels like it's more of a relief than anything.
It's emotionally
like when
exhausting.
you get a hit or you get it, it's like,
well,
God.
that's it's crazy you say that because I'm interested to see if you kind of get that. You're not gonna get the crowd's not gonna be different, but are you gonna get that same type of feeling now you have playoff football? It's the first time you've really got. You had the playoffs, which is really just the semifinals in a championship game. This is like playoffs. You got to go out like the NFL.
Well,
you got to go out.
Some of
this
this is going to be at people's home stadiums.
Yeah,
right.
So
right.
That's a different level of it as well.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, to see. That's a great answer. It's an interesting. You and Jared. You and Chad.
Yep.
Only two.
That can actually speak on it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody else has done it since.
Ask him up. What is actually on a pitcher scouting report? What are you looking for?
Oof. Well.
Some players are looking for nothing, but I can give you what I'm looking for.
Yeah, so you give them what you're looking for. The scouting reports have changed.
They have. They've changed a lot.
Used to be in the minor leagues.
Man, it depends. You can kind of get real intricate with this thing and how you want to go about it. Let's just say I'll give you the thought process of an ace. I'll give you the thought process of somebody who's just a every fifth day guy where you know he's gettable. If I got an ace up there, I kind of want to know his tendencies from count to count. That way, if I get into counts that are advantageous counts for me as a hitter, the 1-0, the 2-0, the 3. What is he throwing in these counts? Because I know, hey, he's got very good wipeout shit. You're probably not just going to get up there and say, let me look for anything and hit him. So if I get into these counts, what is he most likely throwing? Now, when I say most likely throwing, I don't mean over the course of a season. What's he doing lately? Much like a hitter, pitchers get the same thing. They get into field, stuff they can field, stuff they can't field, stuff they're doing well, stuff they're not doing well. So the last 2 weeks may be a different trend over what he's done over the season, right? So over the season, you may want to look at it, but I'm more interested to what he's doing over the past 2 weeks in those counts. How is he throwing? And then I'll also look at just old school stats in the sense of if I don't know him, if I haven't faced him, what's he have? All right, boom, let's say he's got 2 strikeouts for every inning pitch. Well, now I know he's got great stuff.
And now what's he got?
And now, so what is the strikeout pitch? Yeah. So at that point, if he doesn't have that, if he's walking a lot of people, all right, can I sit there and say, let me put him in a honey hole here and let me see if he can actually come into it. So there's a lot of different things you're kind of looking at, and it just depends on who it is and how you go about it.
I'm the same way. I like to look at a pitcher's last month. That was my whole thing. Like, let me see 4 starts. His last 4 starts, what has he done? Has he trended a different way? I like to see, like Jared said, all the old school stuff. How many strikeouts has he got? What is he striking guys out? I look at the right-handed hitters that kind of have a similar profile to me, right? Hey, this guy is a righty that, has a, type of approach that I have or a swing that I have. How did he approach this guy, right? What did he get him out or what does this guy have success on with him? And then I kind of used, towards the back end of my career, kind of the new age scouting reports, right? All right, this guy's got a lot of strikeouts. Does he have a high spin rate? Well, that means he's probably going to throw elevated fastball. So if he is, either 1, don't swing at it, or 2, set my sights higher and say I'm going to work my top down and I'm going to look for the fastball up and I'm going to spit on anything below the zone, whatever it's going to be, because that's usually probably going to be a breaking ball. So I would try to do a little bit of both, but it varied on the pitcher, right? Like, bullpen guys are you're going to look at them completely different than you look at starters. But if we're looking strictly at the starter, let me look at their last 4 starts. I'm going to mix the old school stats with the new school stats.
Kind of, too, the funny part about it is the way the game is now, where a lot of these guys, even starters, are literally any pitch, any count. The starter to the closer, or I won't say closer, starter to the reliever kind of mindset of things has kind of changed a bit. Before, it was you knew starters were going to try to come at you. And then once the reliever came in, it was all bets off. Like, he may be a guy that throws 97, and he may throw 30% heaters. Like, that used to be what you might get out the pen. You may see that out of some starters now, which is crazy to think, but that's how the game is now. So that's kind of come to a little bit in the middle of before when it was kind of starters versus bullpen guys.
Next.
Man, give it him.
Baseball conversation gets good.
It does. Speaking of.
Chestnut checkers, baby.
Give it him. How much control did you have on your position in the field? Like, where did you play for pitcher, lefty hitter, right hitter, shading, or was that all coaching?
So early in my career, it was more of a feel thing. Hey, if you're in center field, we trust you. Like, you go out there and you go. Now you have a coach kind of directing you. Hey, go this way, go that way, or whatever. And then Tampa, when I was in Tampa, we were the first ones to start putting the steps in your back pocket, like a little sheet.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, this guy's up. We want you over more. This, based off the scouting report, advanced analytics. Now everybody's really doing that. Yeah. Based off pitchers, but some of that stuff. So Justin Verlander, for example, we had Nomar Mazara, who was a lefty for the Rangers, who raked Verlander, but he didn't really hit Verlander hard. Right, he was a pull guy, had a bunch of juice to right field. Verlander was a hard-throwing righty. That's what he was probably going to try to do. And so the scouting report had me in the gap, or maybe a little over, like maybe straight up to a little over left. Justin Verlander would come to me every time we played them. He says, "I don't care how much it tells you to get over. I need you to come in and over as much as you can, because he doesn't hit the ball hard on me. He just gets jammed." And sure enough, he would get jammed 2 or 3 times in the game, and it would just flip it in there, and he never would really drive the ball. So some pitchers that had more control would help you do that, but it just depends on the team.
Yeah, but you're also talking about somebody like Justin Verlander.
Right.
Like a third year, number 4 in the
Stand
rotation.
right here.
You don't have that kind
of.
You don't have that kind of cachet. Yeah. It don't work that way. So, you're talking about a Hall of Famer there. So, but you're 100% right. It used to be where it kind of varied from team to team, and then once the analytics side of it got into it, it's pretty much all on a card, and it's here.
Yeah.
That way.
Now, listen, in the middle of an at-bat, right, you can follow the card, but if you have experience and you've kind of built some goodwill with if you see the swing and you see the guy on the mound, he's doing something different, and you make an adjustment to that, then that'd be okay. Right? Now, you have to earn that response. You have to earn that. And if something goes wrong, you come back in, you better be ready to give an answer on why you did that.
Even if you earned it, if you went against the card and you got burnt in that spot, there's going to be someone.
Yeah, and you better have the answer. And if you give him an answer, say, "Oh no, I just felt it." That's not the answer. I was like, "No, his swing was showing me this. He hadn't he's been burying the breaking ball. He's been going up and in with the fastball. If the pitcher missed the spot and he goes the opposite direction, then you can say, hey, listen, he missed the spot, and that's where he hit it, and I made the chance. The manager would probably be okay with it if you've earned that. But you better have an answer.
Yeah.
This one was for Jay, but now since he is no longer here, it's for you, too.
What do you mean, like
I respect the attempt right there.
Yes.
Wherever that is.
Favorite noise in a baseball stadium?
Favorite noise in a baseball
You think I was going to ask Jay his favorite noise? The pop of the mitt, the crack of the bat.
To me, the favorite noise is like
a cell phone number.
No, because look, Major League Baseball games. Jared was talking about the hum because it's so loud in football. Major League Baseball games, not playoff games. There's this kind of like conversational hum, and then you get some guy who gets into one, and you can hear that. You could hear the bat around the stadium, and to me, that's a pretty cool feeling because damn, there's 45,000 people here. And you shouldn't be able to hear the bat come off it, in the second level, but in some situations you can.
I'll say the pregame buzz, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you kind of know that it's going to be a good crowd, which obviously if you got any kind of showsman in you, you're like,
Yeah.
let's go. When you get that kind of like pregame buzz in the ballpark where you can hear conversation, you're not hearing any kind of specific conversation. You're not hearing words.
You just hear the people
It's just
here.
a little early noise in the stadium where you're like,
It's going to be a good one.
it's going to be a good one.
In Tampa,
Which usually happens for the most part, even from the
Right.
from the big leagues. Anywhere else, it's usually more towards like weekend games.
Yep.
You start hearing like the buzz. So I
Yep.
would say that.
in Tampa, we had never really drew good fans. So, like, you could always tell in batting practice what the crowd was going to be like based on how many workers they had in the pregame meetings in the stands. Seriously. We walk out there for BP, we get loose, we look up there, and there's like
4 dudes, you're like,
there's
oh,
like
boy.
15, there's like 15 of them, and you're like, hey, boys, it's gonna be a light one tonight. You get up there, and there's about 35, 40 of them, you're like, hey, the Red Sox and the Yankees must be in town because it's going to be packed tonight.
It's like Major League.
We would be able to know. We looked at there and we'd be able to tell if there was going to be a crowd or not.
That's awesome. Okay.
All right.
I had a couple more. Hold on. They had some that flew in down at the bottom. Here we go. Ask M&M from Canes Cats Heat 305.
Hey.
Big
Oh, this is your guy. That's the Miami guy.
Yeah, he said, what the fuck's Mikey talking about? We're ranked 9th. Ask M&M. When you were being recruited in 8th or 9th grade, if that's when it started, what schools were you down to in your process?
Lloyd. First off,
Hey, he's not-
10 years ago, recruiting did not start in 8th or 9th grade. It just was not a thing.
You weren't on the Spark system?
Nobody was getting offers in the 8th and 9th grade at that point. Like, it really didn't start.
You were playing high school ball, though.
I mean, truth be told, I started getting baseball letters, I think, somewhere in my sophomore year. Football didn't really start or really kick up until, like, school started my junior year, I would say. So it was sophomore, junior year was pretty much kind of where it started. I mean,
Same for me.
At that time, I kind of heard from everybody. So, it is what it is.
Like, when did I start getting recognition? Was that the question?
Yeah, pretty much. Like when you start getting like.
Yeah, your sophomore year. Usually, Jared was a lot more advanced than I was in the like athleticism side, as far as like when he got there his freshman year, and he was football and doing the whole deal. I started getting some offers and some conversations after my sophomore year, and then really heat up my junior. Then I broke my arm. And so that was kind of.
And you cheated on that test.
I cheated on the test. But that was going into my senior year actually, and then I was kind of late to the party. Right, you're seeing a lot of these guys get offered, early on, middle of their senior year in high school. That was me, so that kind of started to come in. I committed to LSU as a preferred walk-on because I waited too long for a football scholarship, and they ran out of money and it ended up working out. But my track was a little different. I wasn't a top 100 recruit in the football world, so it was I had a lot more wait and see in that world, in that aspect.
All worked out.
It all worked out.
I didn't get any offers. I know that blows people's minds.
It's okay.
Nichols sent me a letter once.
You still got some eligibility left, Jay. I got something for you.
Glue guy though.
Glue guy.
I didn't want to go to Nichols.
Depends on
anyway.
how you look at it.
Yeah.
And I apologize about the Miami thing. I was looking at their first round bye and it confused my eyes.
Yeah, well, that's what's crazy about it. Like,
it confused me. I was like looking at it and I was like, wait, they're 4, and I was like, wait a minute, that's obviously because they won the ACC. Or they're winning the ACC. Yeah. So I apologize. I misspoke. Thanks, Canes fan 99 or whatever the hell your number is.
Canes Cats Heat 305 is the area code.
So he
for
likes
Miami.
the Canes and he likes the Cats and he likes the Heat.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like
so he's a Miami, Kentucky fan. Canes, Cats.
I think that might be the Panthers, the hockey team.
That screen name sounds like a kid that plays travel baseball. Like he's like about 14. That's what it sounds.
He's been here. He loves. He
loves it though. He's
he
with
comes
us.
in here every show. He's like baseball talk, baseball talk, baseball talk.
He's with
baseball
us.
Talk. Like
he's like,
brother, it's October.
He's with us.
Football.
I love
he
it.
rides with us.
I love it. All right, next one. We got any more?
Last one he said, "There's nothing like baseball." No, Florida Panthers. See, yeah, I told you.
Yeah, you're right.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was the last one. Well, somebody threw a Hail Mary in here that I feel like we have the answer, but there's really no way to tell. But who would be the Friday night guy? And I feel like it's Shores up to this point.
I think it's Shores.
Yeah, I think it's Chase Shores.
Yeah.
I think that'll be
If
I think that may be the best addition to the team that was not obviously a recruit for the year.
Yeah.
I think kind of people forgot what he showed up to school as, and he's got a year and a half to kind of, almost 2 years, honestly, to refine his mind and how he goes about stuff and listen and talk to people. I think, I would imagine what you'll see would be pretty special.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. We appreciate all the questions for Ask Mikey and Mitch. Ask Mikey and Mitch brought to you by our friends at Mead Heavy Civil. Mead Heavy Civil specializes in land development and infrastructure projects across public works, residential, industrial, and commercial industries. From coastal restoration and large-scale excavations to solar farms and oil and gas pipelines, Mead is the powerhouse moving LSU forward with complete start to finish. I say LSU. Louisiana. And maybe LSU. Maybe you. Investors, maybe you.
It could be you.
Forward. Yeah. Moving Louisiana forward. With complete start to finish construction expertise. Visit meadheavycivil.com or give Keesler Sanders a call at 985-518-6774. Sorry, LSU and maybe LSU. LSU and maybe
definitely Louisiana.
Yeah, definitely Louisiana, though.
Keesler Sutherland.
And some Mississippi and some Alabama, some Florida. All over the place.
CTU. Keesler Sutherland. 24.
Okay.
Great show.
Yeah, it was.
Ask him at home.
Oh, wait.
Should we start buying tickets for Omaha? If so, let me know. I'm 2 hours away from Omaha.
Who?
Dylan.
I think you can wait. You're 2 hours away, but I think you have time. You can wait.
Drive there now.
You can drive. You don't gotta worry. The logistics of your situation is a lot better than most. So I think we can hold off, but it's gonna be an entertaining season. We got a few months. Basketball team plays tomorrow, 2-0, playing on the road against Kansas State, who's also 2-0. I know nobody really wants to talk about basketball right now until football is completely over with, but the basketball team I think is gonna be good. Don't look at the rankings. Don't look at the projections. I think they are going to be pretty good. Matt McMahon has a top 10 recruiting class coming in this year. He's done a really good job kind of building their team. If you want to remember, if you want to talk about, Coach O leaving us in a situation, LSU basketball had 0 guys on their team. Like not one on their team, and he had to come in and start from scratch. And so his job was almost impossible, and he's done a really good job with it. Went 500 in conference last year. I'd imagine they're going to take the next step forward this year and hopefully be a tournament team. So tune into them tomorrow night if you want to see.
They're fun to watch.
They are. They have a lot more guys that are playing now that I feel like are going to be able to make a difference.
I got my eyes on them. I've been watching.
Me too.
You were early on it last year.
Yeah, me too. I've been watching it. I'm a Matt McMahon fan. I really am. All right. I think that's it, boys.
Kim Mulkey, #1 recruiting class in the country.
Duh.
It does feel that way.
Yeah, like it feels like, she's
pretty good at that.
Yep, she's
The machine's rolling.
Oh, yeah, it's rolling. It's rolling. They're going to be good again. National championship contenders.
Yeah, I think they should be the favorites.
Floje is about to take that next step. She's about to average about 20 a game.
Yeah,
Got to get Joe back on soon, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's itching.
She gave him a lot of credit and the staff.
She gave him specifically?
No, she said her staff, but he's,
Oh, yeah.
he's on there. He's on the
Yeah,
staff, from what I remember.
Is that Regis?
We'll let you figure it out.
Mm-hmm. What's the other assistant's name? Redis.
He can dunk, which is impressive.
Wouldn't you? I'm imagining he was a basketball player. So.
I'm a swimmer.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure. All right. Oh, wait. We got segments.
We
do.
Mistake
of the Day brought to you by our friends at Dozy Place. Lloyd, what you got?
Late entry here. I just saw this come across the wire because these are my favorite things that happen when you storm the field and you realize quickly how big football players are. And this man made it look so easy. Let me pull up the video because you see him. you catch this man twice. One time when he gets hit, and it puts in perspective how big football players are and how little people are. And it's like you don't really want to be playing this game. And bang, and then you catch him again.
Just a little slight jog.
Look at him there.
Go back. Play it again.
Hold on. So bang,
Boom.
And then watch at the end of the video where I think he might be stone cold knocked out.
Wow. That's not even like he didn't even
try.
He was just running. The guy kind of got in his way.
Give him the wing either.
Almost like shoulder checked him. They didn't really go out of his way.
I don't even know if I saw a shoulder check.
He just bumped into him. Sorry. Boy, that guy got smushed.
But the original was going to be LPGA Pro-Am event happened this week, and you could be a professional athlete. You can be used to pressure. But it always seems like there's a whole lot more pressure on the first tee of a golf course.
Oh, dude, honestly, that's probably better than I would do.
I don't know. It's about probably the par for the course, I would imagine. Because Caitlin Clark, I've seen hit a golf ball. She's not a bad golfer. But it feels like these moments when there's people around you and you're not really as confident maybe as you thought you were when it comes to, and then it's like, oh, shit, I'm actually legitimately nervous. And these are the things that can happen. Not her fault, but it's tough.
I am not good.
I would not want anybody lining the fairway with me on the tee box either.
I mean, it's a good swing.
Oh, my God.
It's a good swing. She just kind of got, she healed it a little bit.
Came over the top.
Yeah.
Easy mistake to make.
Now she got a breakfast ball. She hit it again. Did they show the second swing?
Yeah, second swing's a little bit more.
She can't even get the ball on the tee.
Well, yeah, because now you got to
She's a little nervous.
I guess.
So they show the second swing?
Yeah. Reset. Here we go. Let's calibrate.
I mean, it's not a bad swing.
Yeah, but this one did it very timid.
Oh, yeah. She made the adjustment. Fairway finder.
She's like,
don't hit anybody.
Don't hit anybody.
Oh, no.
She pulled that one, too?
That was a little low and left, but it got to the fairway. Didn't kill anybody. But
okay, there you go.
Always.
I'd guarantee her next one was right down the middle.
Yeah, there is a.
I'll tell you what, you are a brave soul if you're at an amateur event and you're standing right there. And I'm not doing that. I don't even want to do it with the pros.
No.
I do like sitting there with the pros because if you ever got to sit next to them, you get to see the ball come off their club. It's like, wow. Pretty impressive.
Take a video for me. I'll watch yours.
Okay.
Oh, man. I was behind Louis Oosthuizen at a tournament, and it is like, that's what it's supposed to look like.
Damn, that's what the driver was supposed to look like. When they created this driver, that's what the ball flight is supposed to do. Oh, okay, I got it.
Also, intimidating to go to like have you ever been like a member guest tournament or on a like
can I tell you my experience
with like professional or like close to professional golfers? Like
member guest?
Yeah,
no,
not that. Like whenever I've caddied before, I've hit on the range at like tournaments. You're like, I shouldn't even be doing this. It's a totally different sport.
Who is that guy?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Where's that coming from?
Sitting with a hosel rocket, right?
When I played a member guest a couple years ago, my first one at U Club, we had to play in the horse race. Right, it was a horse race after the practice round, and so the horse race it's a bunch of guys, you're handicapped, you're partnered with, so worst handicap and the best handicap, and they're partnered together, and you go all the way down till you get to the middle, and it's alternate shots. So someone hits the driver, someone hits the next shot, blah blah, until you keep moving on, and so you have like, every hole. There's two groups, and there's like 15 groups playing on each hole. And so you have 4 or 5 guys get knocked out per hole until you get to the last few, and then you go to the other group and you play. So you have everybody around you in golf carts, right? And now that's not the same extent, but you're going out there trying to compete. I was on the tee box. I was the first one, right? And I had just played the practice round. I played well. And I was hitting my driver really well, and I was like, oh, man, okay. I came in there kind of confident. And everybody's like talking, and all of a sudden everybody stops. I'm like,
oh, they're watching me.
Yeah, and I'm like, damn. Then I started thinking, like, damn. So I hit this ball on the very top part of the toe of my driver, and it goes straight up and to the right.
It'll pop up.
To the point where I didn't even know there was water in the area that it went into.
Oh.
And it was a disaster. I felt very embarrassed.
Because they probably expected something.
They expected, because it was hole 14 at U Club, so you go over the water with the driver. It looks really cool when you clear it. I've been doing that all day.
Not that swing.
Didn't do it. So anyway, I would never want to do it. If I'm on a pro-am and you're don't line, you're getting hit. All right. Curtain Call is brought to you by our friends at Perkins and McKenzie Insurance. What you got?
Curtain Call is right here. Curtain Call 2. I thought this was a cool moment. You had Klay Thompson come back to the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Obviously, Steph puts him to sleep with an absolute dagger. But before that, Klay Thompson was known for taking his boat off the bay and going to the game. So as he returns, the old crowd wore sailors hats.
That's pretty cool.
Which I thought was cool. You can still command like a visiting arena and have
the
respect.
I also thought it was really cool that he came out and said, man, he goes, it feels really, really bad being on the opposite end of one of the flurries from Steph Curry.
Yeah.
He knows.
Because he got in the fourth.
Dude, the The play, whatever this tournament is kind of electric.
The NBA Cup or whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's
like they kind of care. Like
Yeah.
Steph was fired the fuck up after he hit that three, like screaming
Kinda
to
cool.
the camera.
Kind of cool.
And then the basketball season disappears again.
It'll be back in March. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it. My curtain call, Lloyd, go ahead, cue it up. It's in your.
I got it.
It's in your email. But my curtain call will go to Jamar Chase. It's not for leading the league in catches. It's not for leading the league in yards right now. But it's because I feel you, brother. Go to the fourth slide of it and just hit play.
And still played good. So I don't think that's something that I try to stay away from. Probably Joella's chicken, bro. They got like chicken and waffles. I love their waffles and chicken and waffles. So that's a good spot.
You talked to Chad Johnson at all about McDonald's
thing? Nah, man, I'm leaving it with Chad. I just do like the little breakfast. McDonald's, I love their breakfast.
And you a
So I'm a McGriddle guy. I don't eat like the Big Macs no more.
He's over the Big Macs, though.
He said he could eat bad and still
he'll
play
play
good.
good.
So I respect it.
Respect.
I did that for a while too.
No doubt. You show up at Jay Mitch's house, he'd have Popeyes in the trash can, and he gained another ab. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's not fair.
It's wild. All right, my curtain call, a couple of them. We talked about Josh Smith, obviously getting the Silver Slugger. That was one of them. I really wanted to go and tell you about all the other ones that he had got. So, Josh Smith, Silver Slugger in the American League. I have kind of a twofold curtain call, so bear with me. Amongst those who won the Silver Slugger, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Jose Altuve, Bobby Witt Jr., Jose Ramirez, Aaron Judge, Anthony Santander hit over 40 homers, Juan Soto, who's going to get $1 billion, almost $1 billion in free agency, Salvador Perez, Brent Rooker, and utility Josh Smith. LSU's own, Baton Rouge's own Josh Smith. Congratulations on the Silver Slugger. Great award. But the other part of my curtain call, and you can pull that graphic up that I put into the document. Before this year, I mentioned the shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. Alex Rodriguez, before this year, was the only shortstop in Major League Baseball history to have in a career a batting title, a Gold Glove, and a Silver Slugger. That's in a career. That's not all in 1 year. It's like, hey, have those three accolades and through the course of a career. The only shortstop in the history up until this year. Bobby Witt Jr. did all three of those in 1 year. This year, in his second or third year in the big leagues. He won a batting title, won a Gold Glove, and got a Silver Slugger all in the same year. It's never happened before in the history of Major League Baseball. In fact, it's only happened only one time for a career. He did it all in 1 year, so that's pretty cool. Shout out to, by the way, current call to him.
Last little bit, too, about the Silver Slugger. Bryce Harper, only fourth player ever in baseball to have a Silver Slugger at 3 different positions this year.
Wow.
Not this year. Just
DH, right field, and first?
Yeah, in his career. So the other 3 players were Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols, and Al Oliver. So
wow.
Becomes the 4th player ever to have a Silver Slugger at 3 different positions. So
wow, he's lived up to the hype, no doubt.
He's riding that Hall of Fame ticket real quick.
For sure. All right, that's all we got for you today on this beautiful Wednesday. Bundle up. It's gonna get a little cold front coming in, boys and girls.
It's already Christmas.
It's gonna be feeling good, nice and crispy. We'll be back. Actually, we're not gonna be back on Friday. We're gonna figure out another time to have a show. I am having. I'm gonna be out of commission this weekend. Have to go through a little process that I won't be able to be here in studio.
You're gonna live stream it?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody's gonna want that. All good, everything's all good. We'll be back live at some point throughout the rest of the week. If we can't, we're obviously gonna get our bets out there. We're gonna try our hardest to have another show. Worst case scenario, we'll be back live in studio Monday from 6 to 8 p.m. at our regular scheduled programming. We love you. We appreciate you. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you can't if you don't like watching us, but you like listening to us, we're going to get your pods. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night, and we will see you soon. Love you. Peace.
Shout out Jay Johnson.
Shout out Jay. Appreciate it.